This episode is brought to you by Mastermind Models and Miniatures and Liber Demonica. Hi guys, welcome to Counterpoints. My name is Connor, and today we're going to be breaking down the first rule in the Interrogator series. And I do love it. Of course, I'm a science fiction, political, and philosophy nerd, Marine Corps, and law enforcement veteran, bringing you the very best in Warhammer 40k violence. And I'll break down the beginning, and then we'll get into the episode. So, the episode begins with claims of innocence mean nothing. They serve only to prove a foolish lack of caution. Judge Traggett, Selected Sayings, Volume 3, Chapter 4. And the 40k universe is very much like the stereotypes of medieval Europe. There's no such thing as the truly innocent, only shades of guilt. And that's because of how demanding and messed up this universe truly is. If you're a civilian or non-combatant, it doesn't really matter, as long as you're associated with a faction that needs to be purged. Then you might as well be guilty anyways. There's no pacifists in the 40th millennium. There's an old Greek saying that I want to keep in your mind while we're watching this episode, which is, the strong do what they can, and the weak suffer what they must. And the number one rule of this episode is things can always be worse.
Here's the thing about cells. I've never had a problem being in one. Being captured is just a change of circumstance, like waking up on someone's floor after a long night, or coming to in an alleyway after a brawl. A move from one place to another. No big deal. Besides, sitting in a cell might be the one time you can guarantee that no one is trying too hard to kill you.
Get off me!
Miles, Boulder, keep it down! My head's thick enough as it is. You ain't fighting your way out of this. Ease up. A nice lie down in a dimly lit cell will do us both good. We can get back to killing these idiots later.
Yeah. Geez. Don't you just love a good little bit of 40k violence? So what I like about this entire scene is that Jurgen is very matter-of-fact about his capture. He's very, blasé about it. But we get to see the sadism of House Clore, where they're beating even old men to a pulp with power mauls. Being in a cell means that they're not going to try too hard to kill you. I'm assuming for somebody who's actually been in the shit a few times, this is relatively true for Mr. Jurgen. We can get back to killing these idiots later, though. What he says, smarting off to the guards, actually ends up with him on the ground and then being shot into a psychic awakening, where he sees Duke Clore summarizing the execution for one of the original inmates, and he has to live through that. So for all of him being cavalier about it, I think we can safely call Jurgen a unreliable narrator, where what he actually tells himself and tells us is not exactly what's really going on as far as the story goes. For all of his boasts of not caring, he seems to be pretty shocked when he psychically sees that prisoner, I believe, eating his own filth out of desperation and ultimately being executed by Duke Clore. So, yeah, absolutely savage, savage, savage. And moving into the next scenes, we can see that the scale of the Duke's wealth and power, and just how big the Warhammer 40k universe it really is. To players and hobbyists, this is just some backwater planet that no one heard of until the series, and is a scrabbling trash heap just like the rest of the Hive worlds. But to Duke Clore and his men-at-arms, not only is it home, but it's the base of their wealth and power. Duke Clore isn't even the most powerful imperial noble on this planet, and yet he commands a citadel, well-armored and armed troops, and a symbol boasting the Imperial Talon's lightning and it holding the world, a hint that he has planetary ambitions which his troops seem competent enough to push for. He also commands the respect of his troops and holds his meeting in a library, hinting that he's a calculated and studied man who wants his guests to know that he's calculated and studied. So the Duke brings Balder and Jurgen in on his plan, which is not to their liking.
The prisoners, sir.
Very well. Take a seat.
Sir,
That'll be all, Sergeant.
But sir...
You heard me. Leave us.
Sir.
Sit down. I have a problem.
That makes two of us.
This city, this planet, is sliding into the shit. The proletariat are rioting in the streets. We've lost communication with Terra. With no black ships, psychers breed like vermin. There is a power vacuum. No one legally responsible for fixing this mess. And all this because of a single shot to the head. Because, for some reason unknown to the rest of us, your master deemed it appropriate to assassinate the governor.
Eleanor was an inquisitor. Her actions were unimpeachable.
She's dead. Any privilege she or you were granted by that badge of office died with her. The people need someone to blame. Right now, they blame each other. They blame the houses. They blame me. I am sure you understand that nothing creates unity like a common enemy. You will admit your guilt. You will be presented to the world as the traitors responsible for the governor's death.
Why now?
Because I've tried everything else. Because I'm losing this damn house war. Sedimir has the support of the people. Idiots. All that bastard wants is to grow fat on their misery. This is my home. I won't see it lost. If I'm to do anything about this Emperor-damned mess, I need to win over the masses. Your executions will earn me their favor. But I will give you a choice. Cooperate, and your executions will be swift and uncomplicated. Choose to go against me, and your final moments in this universe will be exceedingly unpleasant.
I was barely following what Clore was saying, but I was pretty sure he was right. This mess was down to us. And worse, we'd done the same on other worlds. We just never bothered to stick around long enough to take in the consequences.
It never ceases to amaze me.
What, that I'm stuck in another shithole with only you as company? At least keep the table between us. You're putting me off my drink. Go on then. What?
The sheer amount of heresy amongst the ruling elite of this sector. Strange, don't you think?
It's like Belena says. Power corrupts.
Doesn't it just?
These governors, they're obsessed with it, wanting more and more control. They can't think of anything else. And then... that's when the corruption creeps in.
That's how it is it?
See it differently, do you?
I just think it's interesting how successful we are. How we always find someone who needs a bullet in the head.
funny. If a soulless bastard like you doesn't think we're doing the right thing, we almost certainly are.
Hey, you! Yes, you. Are you drowning in plastic crack? Do you keep buying models and never have them painted? Is your pile of shame bigger than the models you actually have done? The team at Mastermind Models and Miniatures can help, or M3 Studios if you prefer. The team at M3 Studios and their Mastermind/Master Painter Clay are just like you, addicted to plastic crack and have channeled their addiction into a passion and a profession. They paint kick-ass models to whatever standard or solution you need. Their motto is professional painting services to bring your imagination to life. Trying to just get on the tabletop? M3 Studios can do that. Trying to shock and awe your local game store? M3 Studios can do that too. Want a piece of art that your descendants will fight over at your funeral? M3 Studios can do that, and it's easy. Click on the link or in the description, and you can talk to M3 Studios directly about your commission. Tell them the Counterpoints channel sent you, and not only are you guaranteed an awesome paint job at a fair price, but you help the Counterpoints channel continue to grow. What is there to lose? Stop buying models you will never paint, and instead let Clay and the M3 Studios team help you dominate your local friendly game store and show off the best painted models this side of the Mississippi. Start your commission today. Nice. Duke Clore lays out the plan and basically shows that the black ships have stopped coming because of the chaos with the governor and his assassination. This is no longer a planet deemed requiring of imperial resources, and because of the complications with the Great Rift, the Psychers breed like vermin. Geisthaven has been previously mentioned to be a place where there was already a concentration of psychic potential, and the only thing that was keeping it relatively sane was the fact that the black ships were kidnapping these people and scooping them off to Holy Terra to either be trained or to be used as sacrifices for the Emperor, the God Emperor of mankind. The power vacuum from the governor's death has thrown the planet into chaos, and no nobles are stepping up for fear of losing a power play. Clore points out the precariousness of Jurgen and Baldur's position, and that with Belna's death, whatever her intents for the planet were, and any imperial protection they had, died with her as well. A common enemy unites, and Clore means to blame the interrogators for the chaos in order to win popular favor. One of the things that I noticed while I was watching this again was a concept called oblige noblesse, or the obligation of the nobles. Even Clore in this situation can see himself as a good guy, where despite having thrown people in cells and tortured them and made them eat their own filth and executed them, he still sees himself as an agent of order, and he actually better of all the options of rulers, because despite being an aristocrat that does look down on the proletariat, he actually does love his home and wants to protect it, whereas he views the other nobles as seemingly only wanting to profit from the misery of the Haroff needles Jurgen in a bar scene about how convenient it is they keep finding taint in executing governors. Jurgen's distaste for Haroff and the ruling elite leads him to dismiss Haroff's criticisms.
Oh shit! The bastard's gonna hang us out to dry! You need to sort yourself out, now!
And how exactly am I supposed to do that?
I don't know. Just find a way. Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. Would it work? I had no idea. But things could hardly get any worse. Oh, screw it. first rule. Things can always be worse. Shit. What the? Always more blood.
So, what horrible things can we learn from that? So, Balder implores Jurgen to sort himself out any way possible because at this point it seems like they're at the end. Because Jurgen is an addict, hasn't had alcohol, hasn't had his neural suppressors, and because things can't get any worse, he takes the vial of hyper-concentrated Sanctus to try to see if it can be used to get him working again. Rather than working like a neural suppressor or a stimulant, it instead unleashes his nightmare of Belena's death in a psychic firestorm that explodes the stone walls and sets fire, ultimately killing a dozen House Clore guards, but also killing Balder. His hallucination as he sees his nightmares, as it pulses through his veins and head, and as time stops and starts and jolts and jumps again, indicates quite a few things consistent with Warhammer lore about the warp. The warp is raw emotional energy, captured from living beings and then released haphazardly into the material realm, either through tears in spacetime or through psychers being sensitive to this other plane of existence. Powerful psychers can channel the power or be conduits for the power, but even the best trained are subject to the winds and beasts that live in the warp and can be possessed when their powers aren't under control. The rest of humanity has a good reason to fear psychers because while they can be potent weapons against the enemies of the Imperium of Man, they're also volatile, and a poorly trained one can cause catastrophic damage, as we just saw. The tragedy of the episode hits home because Balder seemed to be one of the only quote-unquote good characters who was following his code, had a sense of self-preservation, but also wanted to avenge Belena's death. His loss is going to drive Jurgen even more into the pits of misery and guilt, which we'll see as the story progresses. So, that's our breakdown for this episode. My name is Connor. I'm a science fiction, political, and philosophy nerd, a Marine Corps and law enforcement veteran. Go ahead and check out our sponsors, Mastermind Models and Miniatures and Liber Demonica. Like, comment, share, subscribe, dislike. Check out the other videos in the Warhammer, Angels of Death, and all the other playlists. And then we do political essays as well, so if you're so inclined, feel free to check those out as well. I appreciate you. Catch you in the next one. Bye.